Hello, fellow Toastmasters. I will be speaking about the pathways dynamic leadership. I have been working on this one, and what I will be covering today is research. When I was looking the objectives of this pathway, I say, what I'm going to research? I have no idea, what I will be researching, and I start using different sources, mainly Google, and say, well, I feel that refreshing my knowledge and probably learning something new and maybe sharing with some of you will be savvy on this one. Please correct me at the end if I say something incorrect. However, I'm feeling that this will be very educational for all of us. The word theme, top economies. So first, I want to start how the economy of a country gets measured. It is measured with the GDP. Why GDP is important? Basically, this is the what the goods. This is provide a measure what the country produce overall. Everything that the country produce in a given period of time. This is what is measured, and basically what this is what is going to define the economy of the country. So basically, the goods and services that is produced during certain period of time. If we start talking about the countries in a minute, I just want to give an example. Generally, every country measures, the production to measure the economy in a yearly basis. However, U.S. does in a quarterly basis, and also a lot of this one is based on projections on historically economy data, and based on that, the projections, can be done. There are different types of the GDP, so basically how the goods and services are measured. The nominal is basically taking, let's just give an example. The US bureaus, they take everything that we produce and says we're gonna measure this based internally, right? Based in our US dollars, what is our internal, monetary value. This is one. And the other one, and this is the second one, is when you compare your economy with another economies. And when you look your exchange rate with another exchange rate, and basically see, okay, well, this is what I have and I produce here. If I compare, for example, what I produce here with China, do I have the same power of acquisition? And this is where the PPP, what is purchasing power parity, comes into consideration. One of the things that it's important, and I will be talking in a second, is about the PPP. Okay, here, sorry, no, I'm gonna go, no, sorry, one. Right here, I'm gonna highlight this one because I believe this is important to understand, the whole, how, the economy is measured. The PPP and the purchase parity is basically, it is one measure that it was adopted in 1986, that they called the Big Mac. So what they say, okay, we're gonna take this index and we're gonna take the McDonald's hamburger that is produced by McDonald's, and we're gonna measure in every single country how much you have to pay for that hamburger. And what they do, they say it's the same product, and this is how much I pay in the US. So I compare, for example, the US dollar with the pound, or any pesos, different country, and then says, for basically the theory is, if I want to purchase €1 now, how much dollars I have to pay? And the theory is, if I'm gonna buy the same hamburger or a basket of goods, it will be the same, right? Like I'm gonna pay exactly the same amount. And the economy is measured between how much I produce, how much I can purchase the same in another places. So this is basically how the economy is measured. Now, if we also look, another economy measure is the GDP per capita. So basically, is the goods and services that each country produce, and is divided by the population. So basically, it will be looking in the population that we have. If we divide by everything that we produce by the whole population, what is the ratio per person? So this is the GDP per capita, and then here in the second bullet is when we talk about the Big Mac, and this is very important because it's always looking how much will be paying for the same item in different places. Now, Now let's go to the most important thing. Based on these main economic indicators, there are some companies and there are that they do all these studies and they say, well, let's see what is really happening, what is historically happening, and what will be the projection and what will be the biggest and strong economies worldwide. So the first one, if we see based on the GDP, the purely consumption production per country, U.S. is the number one, and it has been the most strong economy since 1871. So it's more than a century. So we're very privileged that we live in this country and we have the most stronger economy. However, okay, so basically the U.S. economy is very advanced in technology. We have services and we have big production. When we talk about the top economies, we normally talk about the trillions. So basically, U.S. produce 20.2 trillion in a year. And this is how the economy is measured. It is following by China. China is 13 trillion. Seems a little bit low on my other research. China, China 35 years ago, the economy was not that intense. The Chinese government started a process where they say we're gonna do a revamped economy and we're gonna start working in the economy. They start growing 10% in an annual basis. They went from billions to trillions producing. So the Chinese economy is getting very close to the U.S. economy, and it says that maybe by 2022, if we don't pick up, they maybe will pass the U.S. economy. And one of the things that also is important to highlight when we look the GDP per capita, China is way ahead of us because basically they have a lot of population and seems like everybody works, so they produce more than maybe we're doing here in the US. So this is one of the important factors. So the next one is Japan. I just want to do a quick highlight between like Japan, Germany, UK, France and Italy. It was a big economic recession in the 90s to around 2008. All these economies were halt for a while, especially Japan. Japan was static for, like, if we look around, I believe it's 12 years ago, Japan was like China today. But then with all the economic crisis, they got stuck. And they finally are picking up, and now it's the third economy. In a normal basis, like for US, if you can see here, the normal growing is 2.4% per year, which is high. There are some economies like in the last, like China or Japan, they grew 10% every year, which is absolutely exaggerated. One of the things that I want to also highlight on this one is China already figured it out. Oh, our economy is growing so much, it's getting out of control. So they now launch a new initiative where they are kind of like letting go to another places, and they are holding back to make sure that it's maintained stable. So the other ones, Germany, India. India is also amazing. It's expecting to surpass UK and France for a while. And from South America, Brazil is one of the highest top economies. With that, I want to finalize my presentation, and I hope that it refreshes or educates some of you that didn't know how this one takes into consideration. Thank you.